Now on this test that I wanted to do, I think it's interesting because when I first got into batteries, I didn't have a way to charge them at all. But what I tried to figure out is a way to use a 5521 to 5521 male cable. And in one of my solar panels, I happen to have a 5521 female to battery clamp. So I was trying to charge from power stations that had 5521 ports and get power into my battery that way. But because my battery didn't have one of these fancy display screens, I couldn't actually tell how much power is going into the battery. Well, we're gonna find out today. Let's set the scene here. We have 3 power stations that all have 5521 ports. Now, the interesting thing about these 3 is they have different types of regulation on their 12-volt joints. I believe this one is unregulated, which was an interesting thing that I discovered when trying to figure out how to charge my first battery. Because this one is unregulated, I thought maybe it will be able to give the battery more power because it had a higher voltage, because LFP typically rides at a higher voltage than what some of these regulations do. So if it's unregulated, I'm getting the full battery voltage, and then LFP kind of has a voltage, a discharge line that's more so like full, and then it drops off towards the end. So if I had a problem giving this thing 12.4 volts, 12.6 volts, then this one would be able to give it 13 volts, 14 volts. I don't know. I'm not sure. But that was a theory that I had. So let's look at some of these situations. And remember back then when I had this one doesn't tell me watts out. So now I have a couple that do, but the battery tells me as well. All right, let's get into it. The first one we'll try is the Bluetti. Got my 5521 cable. I'm going to attach my joints first. Not that I should get any big spark, but this will probably minimize it. We're gonna plug this in. Screen came on, and you can see that it's getting a paltry 8 watts. Well, it's at 99%. Let's get some power out of it first. To get some power out of the battery, I'm taking the lugs off and I'm putting on a ringlet to 12 volt, and I'm gonna charge up a power station or something really quick with this joint right here. Just a little tidbit, as far as I know, you're supposed to put all of your connections under this stuff. So this stuff should be closest to the bolt, and then your connection should go on here and then be touching that. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna get something to tighten those down a little bit. I'm down to 98%. Let's go ahead and put our clamps back on here. Right on top, because I live a thug life. And then we're gonna pop this in. I should be able to do this one-handed. I'm not seeing any input. I'm seeing output here. Well, that's interesting. Does it only show one at a time? Let's unplug and see what happens. Oh no, it only shows one at a time. But look, I'm getting 17 watts. So now that we know that this particular one is giving it 20 watts now instead of the 8, I'm still running the battery down as much as I can. It's only doing 48 watts for some reason, even though this is a 100 watt rated joint and this is a 100 watt rated cable, and this can take in 100 watts. But whatever. Let's actually try this one. We got a full circle thing going on because it's being charged and it's going to give some output here in a second. Hopefully. Maybe it won't. Okay, this one is not giving it anything. Let's stop it from charging. Let's turn. I'm not smelling anything crazy. I mean, this is kind of melted, but I think that's from something else. Actually, that's mad hot. So let me take that off. But I don't think this is hot. This right here is hot. Oh yeah, that's definitely melting over there. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to disconnect this, and I don't know of another way to discharge this battery because my inverter just broke. So what I'm gonna have to do is add a video down in the bottom of the description when I perform this test again. But what I am going to do is finish this situation with it at 98%. Now, could that be useless? Maybe, but I'm going to try it anyway. I got to take these off first. Now, the screw terminals are not hot. It's just this situation. And I should have checked this before I plugged this on here, but I don't think this was an issue. And this should not have happened solely because of this. This is only giving it like 70 watts or something like that. Maybe that's why it dropped down to 50. I don't know, guys. Real time, real like up-to-date testing. First time I'm trying it, y'all get to see all of it. All right, now we're back. Terminals cleaned up. Not cleaned up, but I took the stuff off. I put these back on. 5521 is connected into the Ecoflow. Ecoflow is giving it nothing. So we're gonna pop it back into this joint, and then you can see that it starts charging again. Screen just turned on, showing about 20 watts. Now this one is the wild card. Let's see what this one is going to do with its unregulated 12 volt circuitry. So that joker's not provide anything either, which is interesting. I would have never thought that that would have happened here, but then I get output here. All right, let's pop this back in. And just for consistency's sake, show that this is actually indeed charging it. 13 watts. 15 watts, 15 watts here, 16 watts there. That's, I mean, if you trust these screens, that's 100% efficiency. Now, I just so happen to have another battery here that I'm gonna try and see what it charges at, because it is not close to full. It's at about 80%. So let's see what that does. About 10 watts. Yeah, it's at 84%. But the cool thing here is that it shows you the voltage. So it's got 13.3 volts and it's only sending up through about an amp, 0.8 amps to be specific. So while this cable came in handy, it was from another manufacturer. I'll put it in the, you can't buy this, I don't believe. I mean, maybe you could buy something like this. It looks like they just kind of made a 5521 female to alligator clips. But this came with a solar panel. I'll put the solar panel or the vendor, the whatever they're called, down in the description. So having this screen on here has actually helped me to figure out what was going on way back then when I was trying to put power into a battery using the 5521 to battery clamp. It's not much. All right, let's actually do one more test. This is a 12 volt socket to, not socket, 12 volt plug to 5521. Maybe there's something in here that would allow it to better negotiate sending the power to there. So here we go, plugged in. Should be able to do this with one hand. And we're getting 12, 11, 12. So nope, same situation. I had to test though. I feel like I wouldn't have been being straight up if I didn't try it, because it crossed my mind. So I did it. I feel like, why not share this? I remembered that I had this USB-C to 5521 adapter. It's just a plug itself. I actually have a cable that I have that does this same thing, but I'm going USB-C from here to USB-C to 5521, 5521 to my battery clamp, and I'm charging at 70 watts. And this one is giving out 76, so it's a little more normal efficiency loss between DC to battery. Now, I don't know how long this will work before it gets really hot. I could put my clamp meter on here to measure the amps, because this is really thin wire. But I imagine that if it's 12 volts getting 70 watts, it's probably about 6 amps or something like that. So that may be too much for this cable. It may not. It may be too much for this. So it's a little bonus thing to kind of bring all of this full circle with accessories you probably may not be able to find. Just for those who are curious, without showing my ashy knees, it seems like maybe something that was encasing in here melted out onto the fuse. So the fuse may still be fine, but this got super hot, and I don't know why it got super hot. I've had nothing but issues with these 12 volt to, I've had less issues with the ringlet terminals, but I've had a lot of issues with my battery clamp 2 joint over here. All of those have stopped working. It was my fault. So having this screen on here has helped me to figure out what was. So having this screen on here has actually helped me to figure out what was. Oh my gosh.